There are certain mistakes in the world of power that you'll never read in a law book. They're not carved into any constitution. They're not part of the carefully crafted speeches on justice, morality, or leadership. But make no mistake, these mistakes are real. They're silent. They don't need weapons. They just need tolerance. And the moment you let one wrong act slide, just one, when you ignore a tiny crack in the foundation of trust, that's the moment your downfall begins. This isn't a message for the dreamers. It's not for those who want to feel good or play it safe. This is for those who understand that power isn't lost overnight. It's chipped away slowly. Not by outsiders, but by the ones closest to you. Smiling under the lights. Digging your grave in the shadows. That's how companies fall. That's how empires crumble. That's how strong leaders become ghosts. So today, we're pulling back the curtain. We're diving into the 7 behaviors you should never, ever tolerate. Not even once. These are the quiet poisons that will eat away your power, your trust, your throne. If you're a builder, a leader, or just someone trying to create something that can't be easily broken, stay with me till the end. And if something in here strikes a chord, if you feel a truth you've been ignoring, hit the like button, subscribe, and send this to someone who needs to hear it. Because survival isn't always about strength. Sometimes it's about clarity, about seeing what cannot be forgiven. Let's start with the first. 1. The disappearance during crisis. People love to talk about loyalty. They say it takes time to prove it. But Machiavelli took it even further. He said loyalty isn't proven over years. It's revealed in crisis. When the skies are clear and the money's flowing, everybody's loyal. Everyone shows up, everyone smiles, everyone celebrates your wins. But the moment things shake, when the storm hits, when the blood spills and the fire starts, that's when the truth comes out. Suddenly, the room gets quiet. The ones who used to be first in line to cheer you on, gone. No texts, no calls, just silence. And when you survive, when you somehow get back up, that's when they return, full of excuses. I didn't know what to do. I had my own stuff going on. I was going to reach out, but don't fall for it. Because silence during your lowest moment speaks louder than any apology. The one who abandons you once will do it again. And if you forgive that out of weakness, you send a message to everyone else. There are no consequences for betrayal. From that point on, loyalty around you becomes fake. It's not based on who you are. It's based on what you have, your power, your status. And when that fades, so will they. You don't need an army. You need one person who stands when the whole world turns away. That person is worth more than 100 who cheer only when you're winning. 1. Machiavelli understood that betrayal isn't just emotional. It's structural. When others see you can be abandoned, they stop believing in your power. Your throne becomes a seat anyone can sit on. Your name becomes negotiable. So remember the faces that vanish in the storm. And when the sun comes back, don't let them return to their old positions. Because if you do, you've just created a rule. Loyalty isn't required, timing is. That's not leadership. That's how kingdoms rot from within. 2. Cowardice in leadership. Let's talk about fear. Not the kind that screams. The kind that whispers. The kind that wears a mask. See, most people think that power is lost through rebellion, enemies, or conspiracies. But Machiavelli knew better. The fastest way to collapse a kingdom? Put a coward on the throne. Cowardice doesn't always look like trembling hands or nervous glances. No, sometimes it shows up dressed like careful thought. Wrapped in the language of let's wait and see. It hides behind endless meetings, behind the fear of making the wrong move. But real power requires decisiveness, clarity, the ability to say, this is the move, even when it's risky, especially when it's risky. When the leader hesitates, everyone below starts to doubt. They question, they talk, they stop believing. And when trust in the leader disappears, the organization eats itself from the inside. Picture this, you're on a battlefield. The enemy is closing in. You look up to your commander, and he hesitates, stalls, needs a vote. Would you trust him? Or would you start thinking about how to save yourself? That hesitation is a disease. spreads down the ranks. Doubt replaces discipline. Panic replaces purpose. And soon, your organization, your company, your team, it's lost. Leadership doesn't mean being fearless. It means acting even when you're not. Because in that moment when every eye is watching, the true leader stands up and says, "Move," not because he's sure, but because he knows that hesitation is more dangerous than a wrong decision. Some leaders hide their fear behind fake morality. They talk about peace, about ethics, but look closely, they're not avoiding bad choices. They're avoiding hard ones. They'll say they're thinking things through, but they're really running from the responsibility that comes with power. And when the leader runs, so does everyone else. Machiavelli said it best. An army doesn't fear its enemies. It fears a general who doesn't know what to do. So if you want to lead. Decide. Move. Because if you don't, someone else will. And they won't ask for your permission before taking your place. 3. The flatterer's trap. Now, let's talk about the most dangerous person in the room. The one who never disagrees with you. The one who always smiles, always nods, always says, "You're absolutely right." Yeah, that one. 2. You think your enemies are your biggest threat? Think again. Machiavelli didn't fear the man standing against him. He feared the one standing beside him, whispering compliments. Flatterers are the most subtle kind of poison. They don't stab you. They seduce you. They don't oppose you. They hypnotize you with sweet words until you can't hear the truth anymore. They aren't loyal to you. They're loyal to the spotlight. They want to be near power, not protect it. And once you start enjoying their praise, you stop asking hard questions. You stop listening to warning signs. You start living in an echo chamber. And that's when things fall apart. Because you're not being led by strategy. You're being led by ego. A real ally will tell you the truth, even when it stings. They'll say, "You're wrong." They'll challenge you. They'll make you uncomfortable because they care about your survival, not your feelings. But the flatterer wants you comfortable. Because the more comfortable you are, the less sharp you become. And once your power starts slipping, they'll be the first to jump ship, or worse, help push you off. Same smile, same voice, new master. So take a look around. Who always agrees with you? Who never pushes back? Who always knows the perfect time to praise? That's not your supporter. That's a parasite. And if you let them keep whispering in your ear, they'll be the reason you don't hear the knife coming. 4. Public defiance, the first crack. Let's talk about what happens when someone challenges you. Not behind closed doors, but in front of everyone. You give an order, you make a decision, and someone laughs, or rolls their eyes, or questions you not in private but in public. That's not just disrespect. That's the beginning of the end. See, Machiavelli knew that power isn't held by titles or crowns. It's held by belief. The belief that you're untouchable, that your word is law. And the moment someone breaks that illusion, even slightly, a joke, a rumor, a challenge under the spotlight, your power takes a hit. It doesn't have to be a rebellion, just a comment that plants a seed. If he can question the king, why can't I? And from that moment, people don't just listen to your words, they start watching your reactions. Do you laugh it off? Do you ignore it? Do you act? Because if you don't, if you show tolerance in front of the crowd, you've just told the entire room, I can be questioned. And then it begins. Bit by bit, people push boundaries. They test your limits. They delay your orders. They whisper behind your back. And if you allow it, your throne isn't yours anymore. It's just a chair waiting for someone bolder to sit in it. Now don't get it twisted. You don't have to crush every disagreement. You don't have to silence every private opinion. But a public challenge? That must be addressed. Not for your ego, for your authority. 3. People may not always listen to what you say, but they're always watching what you tolerate. And once you let one public act of defiance go unchecked, you give others permission to do the same. It becomes precedent. A green light for every future challenger to rise up under the mask of just asking questions. Some will even wrap their defiance in morality. They'll say, I'm not against him. I just care about the kingdom. Don't be fooled. That's not concern. It's a quiet audition for your role. If you've ever been challenged in front of others and thought, it's not worth making a scene, think again. That one scene may be the start of your collapse. Don't forget, a single act of public defiance is never just a moment. It's a message. 5. Ingratitude, the coldest betrayal. Now let's talk about the ones you helped. The ones you lifted when no one else saw them. The ones you protected, vouched for, poured into, and the second the storm rolled in, they were gone. Or worse, they joined the other side. This is the betrayal that doesn't scream. It doesn't need a weapon. It just walks away quietly. Ingratitude. Machiavelli warned us, there's nothing more corrosive to power than helping the wrong people. Because the ungrateful don't just forget your kindness. They treat it like it never mattered, as if your sacrifice was just part of the deal. They don't feel guilt when you fall. They feel justified. Because to them, loyalty was never a value, it was a transaction. And once they think they've gotten what they need, they owe you nothing. In fact, when your position starts to shake, they won't just disappear. They'll weaponize their past closeness to you. I used to be with him. I know where he's weak. That's the ultimate twist. You gave them the sword, and now they're using it against you. So what do? You don't stop giving. You don't stop leading with strength and generosity. But you do start recognizing barren ground. Stop investing in those who only show up when it benefits them. Mercy, when given to the wrong person, doesn't make you noble. It makes you vulnerable, creates a parasite, one who feeds off your grace, then turns on you when you're down. Gratitude can't be forced, but ingratitude, that must be punished. Not because you're bitter, but because the system is watching. When you keep rewarding the ungrateful, when you let them back in, when you trust them again, you're telling everyone else, loyalty isn't necessary. Treason isn't dangerous. It's survivable. And the moment your organization learns that, it's over. You've created a culture where betrayal is just a matter of timing. So test people. See how they act when the gifts stop flowing, when the spotlight shifts, when they're no longer gaining. That's when the truth shows. And once someone fails that test, never give them the chance to fail it again. Because they won't change. They'll just get better at hiding. 6. Ambition without loyalty. 4. Ambition on its own isn't bad. In fact, it's necessary. Machiavelli said ambition is the fuel of empires. It's what makes the weak rise, what makes the mediocre push forward. But when ambition has no loyalty, that's a weapon with no safety switch. A man with ambition and no loyalty doesn't belong to anyone. He serves no one but himself. And the scariest part? He won't make noise. He won't pick fights. He'll just wait, observe, smile, collect every piece of information you drop. And when the moment comes, when the throne starts shaking, he's the first one to step forward with a calm, confident, "Let me help." He's not there to serve power. He's there to replace it. So how do you spot him? He's neutral in every conflict. He's brilliant in every meeting. He never takes a side. He's always available, but never committed. He avoids loyalty like a trap because he wants freedom to move when the time comes. He won't argue with you in public. He won't challenge you. But in private, he's calculating, watching how you handle pressure. Not to support you, to study your weakness. And here's the brutal truth. If you have someone like this in your camp, someone talented, charismatic, admired, but impossible to read, you only have two choices. Tie him to you. Lock his future into yours. Give him something to lose if you fall. Or cut him loose before he becomes unstoppable. Because once he rises beyond your control, his very existence is a threat. Do not mistake talent for loyalty. Do not confuse competence with commitment. Ask yourself one question. If I lose everything, would this man still stand beside me? If your answer is, I don't know, then he's not your ally. He's your future rival. And when the crown falls, he'll catch it with both hands and say it always belonged to him. 7. Morality as a weapon. Now we come to one of the most deceptive threats to power, the one no one talks about until it's too late. Not rebellion, not betrayal, but morality. Some people don't raise their voices. They don't rebel, threaten, or openly oppose you, but they still manage to bring down empires. Not with force, but with a performance. They use morality like a blade, not to protect truth, but to destroy authority. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago, long before it became common strategy. He understood that when morality is weaponized, it stops being about right and wrong. It becomes about power. You'll see them rise with calm voices, with words like transparency, compassion, justice. But look deeper. What they really want isn't change. It's your seat. They're not standing up for the people. They're preparing to replace you. Because moral manipulation doesn't need a crowd that thinks, it just needs a crowd that feels. And once that crowd starts asking questions like, is he really a good man? Or, don't we deserve better? Your authority is already trembling. 5. The game isn't to overthrow you with facts. It's to drown you in emotional suspicion. And once you start justifying your decisions, once you start defending your character, you've already lost something vital: control. Because in the eyes of the crowd, if a king has to explain why he deserves the crown, maybe he shouldn't wear it at all. Here's the trap. If you defend yourself, they say you're insecure. If you stay silent, they say you're guilty. If you act, you're a tyrant. If you don't, you're weak. You don't get to win unless you understand what's happening. And here's what's happening. Morality, when used as a weapon, isn't about integrity. It's about optics. It's about creating the illusion that kindness and softness are the same as strength. They aren't. Real morality, it's quiet. It advises in private. It warns with respect. But fake morality, it needs an audience. It needs applause. It needs to shine while you sink. That's why Machiavelli warned, never let virtue become the noose that strangles your rule. Because once you allow your decisions to be swayed by performative morality, every speech, every tear, every whisper from the crowd becomes a vote against your leadership. You'll have created a world where power is not held by the bold, but by the emotional. Where anyone who can cry on cue, who can sound just righteous enough, who can play the role of the gentle reformer, can take your place. And the worst part? If you let the first one go unchecked, others will follow. They'll see how easy it is. All they need is a speech, a slogan, a little outrage, and the crowd will turn. So no, you don't need to punish every disagreement. You don't need to fear private concern. But if someone uses public morality as a sword, you must confront it. Swiftly, calmly, unshakably. Because if you don't, you're not just losing the argument. You're rewriting the rules. And every manipulator watching will take notes. If you've ever felt guilt, shamed, or questioned, not for what you did wrong, but for not living up to someone else's moral performance, you're not alone. You've seen this weapon. You've felt its sting. And now you know what to call it. So let's take a step back. We've just walked through 7 silent killers of power. Loyalty that disappears in crisis. Cowardice wrapped in fake morality. Flattery disguised as support. Public defiance left unanswered. Ingratitude that turns kindness into weakness. Ambition with no loyalty. And morality used as a weapon, not a guide. None of these are loud. None of them start with war. They start with silence. With hesitation. With the look the crowd gives you when you do nothing. If you're building something, a company, a legacy, a name, burn this into your memory. Power doesn't collapse from outside pressure. It rots from within. And it starts the moment you tolerate what should never be tolerated. When you forgive betrayal, accept flattery, ignore public challenges, or keep giving to the ungrateful, you're not just being merciful. You're broadcasting to everyone. There are no consequences here, and people are always watching. Your team, your enemies, your friends, they're all learning one thing from your silence. Loyalty is optional. Strategy is survival. If that happens, when the time comes to act, you'll turn around and realize something chilling. You have no army, no allies, no one left who believes in you, because they all learned from you that they didn't need to. You didn't draw the line. So now there is no line. That's not leadership. That's the slow death of influence under a mask of kindness. Machiavelli didn't teach cruelty. He taught clarity. He taught that power, if not protected with sharp vision and firm boundaries, will be eaten alive, not by open enemies, but by the people sitting right next to you. So keep your eyes open. Spot the fake loyalist. Cut off the flatterer. Remember who was missing when you needed them most. Punish the first rebellion so the second never starts. Never confuse charm with loyalty. And never let morality on a stage replace strength in your hands. If you've made it this far, you're not here for entertainment. You're here for something deeper. You're here to become the kind of man who doesn't fall for smiles, for guilt trips, or for fake virtue. You're here to become the kind of man who sees clearly and who acts without hesitation. Hit that subscribe button. Stick with us, because this is just the beginning. We're going to keep pulling the mask off power, exposing what's hidden, breaking down the psychology of betrayal, of leadership, of staying awake in a world full of people who smile as they wait for you to fall. Let's make sure you don't.